All right, today we're going to tackle a term you hear thrown around all the time in the news: asymmetric warfare. It sounds super complex, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, let's dig in and find out. You know, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to go way back, like over 2,000 years back. This quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War, it's the perfect place to start. It's all about finding an opponent's weakness, fighting on your own terms. And that idea, it's absolutely central to everything we're about to unpack. And that, of course, brings us right to our big question. It's a phrase we all hear, but it often feels kind of vague, doesn't it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to find a surprisingly simple answer to it all. Okay, so first up, where do we even run into this term today? Well, it's become a huge modern military buzzword. But here's the kicker. It's not actually new. Not at all. I mean, the name might sound modern, but like Sun Tzu pointed out, the actual practice of a smaller, weaker force getting clever to fight a stronger one, that is as old as war itself.
All right, let's just break it down to the absolute basics. The word asymmetry, it just means a lack of balance, right? No symmetry. So in war, that means you've got a conflict where the two sides have completely different stuff, different resources, different tech, different numbers. It's the classic David versus Goliath story.
And this is where things start to get a little confusing for a lot of people. The search for one clear definition. And this is really the heart of the problem. Unlike a lot of other military terms, there just isn't one single official, everyone agrees on it definition. And that's exactly why it can feel so slippery and hard to pin down. Even the experts don't have just one answer. So, the author of our source material here, they propose this working definition, and it really captures the main idea. You've got a smaller force using unexpected, unconventional methods against a big, powerful, traditional military. So think ambushes instead of big field battles, or using improvised weapons instead of tanks and jets. But here is where things get really interesting. The author basically says that trying to separate asymmetric warfare from all the other similar-sounding terms out there, it's a totally pointless exercise. They literally call it redundantly unnecessary. So why would they say that? Well, because they might all just be different names for the exact same thing. And that idea leads us right into this tangled web of military jargon. Just take a look at this list. Irregular warfare, unconventional warfare, guerrilla warfare, even terms like terrorism and insurgency. All of these concepts are kind of swirling around asymmetric warfare. And honestly, their definitions overlap so much, it creates this kind of fog of confusion. Now, what's interesting is that one of these terms does have a formal official definition from the U.S. Department of Defense: guerrilla warfare. And the keywords to pay attention to here are irregular forces and enemy-held territory. Okay, so let's put them side by side. On the left, you've got our working definition of asymmetric warfare. On the right, the official definition of guerrilla warfare. Just take a close look. Do you really see much of a difference? Because I don't. They are shockingly similar. And this comparison, this striking similarity, leads us straight to the core argument of our source material, an idea that just cuts right through all that jargon. And there it is, the big reveal. The author's conclusion is that asymmetric warfare, guerrilla warfare, all those other terms, for all practical purposes, they are one and the same. They're just different labels slapped onto the same fundamental strategy. Let's make this real with a powerful, real-world example that everyone understands: the 9/11 attacks. You had civilian tools, commercial airliners, used as weapons. This was a profoundly unconventional tactic, used by a tiny, non-state group against a global superpower. And our source points to this as the perfect example that actually fits all the labels. It was asymmetric, it was irregular, and it was unconventional. Okay, so if they're all pretty much the same thing, then why in the world do we have so many different names for it? And that brings us to our final and maybe most important point. It's all about perspective. Think about it. Who gets to decide what to call something? It's the side with the power. In this case, it's the large, conventional, state-sponsored military that's creating all these categories. They're basically just labels they use to try and understand an enemy that doesn't play by their rulebook. This really lays out the two perspectives perfectly, doesn't it? The big conventional army sees an enemy making a strategic choice to use asymmetric tactics. But the irregular force, they see something way simpler: survival. They aren't sitting around choosing a fancy strategy, they're just using whatever they can get their hands on to fight back.
Yeah, so from the guerrilla's point of view, this isn't some academic theory, it's just reality. It's about using what you've got available, local knowledge of the terrain, support from the people, the element of surprise, all just to survive and fight another day.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question to think about. If all these complicated sounding strategies are just different names for the same thing, and the name just depends on who's looking, what does that tell us about the nature of war itself? It suggests that war isn't just about guns and armies. It's also about perspectives, about labels, and about the stories we tell ourselves about who's fighting, and maybe most importantly, why.